Welcome back once again to the Book of Boba Fett. This is Sean,
This is Chris.
and we do an after show of the Book of Boba Fett each and every Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on YouTube and some other services you see there on the screen there. What an episode! Penultimate episode, episode 6 of 7. We've got one more after this one, and boy, just a star-studded episode.
There was one after another moment. Like, okay. Well, we they led us into one moment. We knew it was coming. We knew
Yeah,
we were going to see Grogu. But before we get into that, guys, we're Dad and Rock. We do this every week. If you love just kind of listening to other guys talk about shows you enjoy, I mean, this is one of them. We're big Star Wars heads.
yeah.
Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We are hugely interactive. So if you got something you want to talk about or we missed something, feel free to go ahead and leave a comment. We'll pull it up, we'll address it. If we don't get to it immediately, we'll get to it before the show's end. So
There's a lot to talk about on this episode for sure.
absolutely. So that's okay. Let's go in. I mean, do you want to go right to where my big moment was, or do you want to kind of lead into it? I'm gonna leave that up to you.
Let's just kind of go over the episode because structurally, I think it makes sense because we're kind of going back and forth with a few different planets here. So, the show opens up. We're back at Mos Pelagos with Cobb Vanth, which was
That
the
was
first
cool by
surprise.
itself. Yeah.
Yeah, if Cobb Vanth was the only surprise this episode to see him back, that would have been, that's what people would have been talking about this episode. But he was just the opening act.
Yeah, no, there wasn't. Yeah, no, there's a lot that you know it wasn't needed. I
Yeah.
wouldn't say not needed, but he's an afterthought now, based
Oh,
on
sure. After everything else
everything
in the
else that
episode.
happened on the episode.
Yeah. But it was a good way. Timothy Oliphant's back in the role, and I think he's become somewhat of a fan favorite since The Mandalorian. And it just makes sense for him to be involved in this story, being in another town on Tatooine. The Pikes are running shop there in Tatooine, and it's starting to affect his small town. And yeah, I think it was a nice intro, a nice reintroduction to the character that he doesn't need Boba Fett's armor to be a badass. He was able to, outgun these 4 or 5 Pikes.
He's
Quick
quick.
draw style.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he is quick, and that was pretty cool. Seeing how quick he was, he's not scared. He didn't need
Right.
the armor. It was one of those things, he was just right on it. So that was cool to see.
It was classic Western, like the sheriff of a small town walking up and, sending some bad guys on their way. And he gave us a little character beat, him kicking over the spice. He could have sold that spice and got the town, but it's just he wants no part of that stuff.
Yeah, he doesn't want that on the planet. Period. So
Yeah.
I wasn't sure what he was going to do with it, but as soon as he knocked it over, I'm like, okay,
Yeah. Good guy.
that's yeah.
Good guy.
I can see why he's the marshal. I mean, he's the one running the town. He's the clean nosed one.
Yeah. And right from there, we get the titles. What is it? A stranger comes from the desert. I think something along those lines. Out of the desert, a stranger comes.
Yeah,
I don't know. The wording is
from the desert comes a stranger.
from the desert comes a stranger. There you go. This could have been anybody. Cobb Vanth's not, but at this point, you don't know who the heck that is. But by the end of the episode, you sure as heck know
Oh yeah,
who that title's
and
referring to.
yeah, no, and it took a second for me to realize what it was, but we're
Yeah.
we're gonna work our way there.
Well, and so, coming off of last week's episode 5, it was all Mandalorian all the time. Din
Mhm.
Djarin was back and better than ever, baby. And, at the end of that episode, it was promised that he wanted to go see the little guy again. He wanted to go see Grogu. And you and I were like, well, do we see that? We were contemplating, like, are we actually going to follow him for another episode? And
Yeah.
here we are. We're
Well, it was one of
doing
those too. It's like it would have easily set it up for episode 1 of season 3 of Mandalorian, the
Mhm.
Mandalorian. You know what? It would have been like kind of a flashback because they didn't have to show it to us in this episode. It could have happened, and then he showed up,
Yeah.
on Tatooine, and then they could have addressed it on the first episode of season 3.
Right.
But I think that would have angered too many people. Like, you know what? I wanted to see him. What's going on? You lead me into it,
Yeah.
and then you don't give it to me. I think it'd been too many people would have been upset about that.
Yeah, they did the right thing, even though it's a bit controversial as far as the star, somewhat the quote unquote star of the show hasn't had a line of dialogue in 2 episodes.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that. So yeah, Mando's in his N1 starfighter, and he's flying towards this lush green planet. We don't get a name, we don't know where we are, but he lands, and who's there but R2D2 to greet him.
That was awesome. Dude, R2 has now popped up in like I think almost every like video format
Yeah.
on it. And we actually had that. You want to see it?
Yeah,
No,
go
what?
ahead,
Screw
sir.
it. Let's see it.
There he is.
I love the fact that they that little detail just add R2 into little bar because he was in the last season of The Mandalorian when you showed up with Luke.
Yeah.
He's in in the Book of Boba Fett. Just keep finding a place to put him. I don't care if it even fits anymore. I want to see him in Asoka. I want to see him in every property that Star Wars does.
So R2 greets him. Mando's like, "Hey, take me to Grogu, take me to the Skywalker." R2 starts leading him somewhere, and we come upon these ant droids that look to be starting to build this temple, whatever this hut is.
Yeah.
And we start to learn throughout the episode that this planet is where Luke is setting roots down for his Jedi Academy. And I thought these little androids were cool. Once again, we're seeing something new. We've never seen these kind of droids in Star Wars before, but once again, they're totally Star Wars.
Yeah, it fits.
Yeah, it fit really well. But R2 just shuts down, and Mando just has to end up sitting on a bench to wait.
Making me a bench?
Yeah.
They made him a bench. No, let's address this too. He called R2 friend. Know how there's such a huge arc when it comes to droids in Mando from episode 1 of season 1 to where he wouldn't even take a speeder with a droid driving it.
Right.
In season 1. And now he's to the point where he's calling these droids friends now.
Right. How could R2 not be your friend? I think the only one that wasn't friendly to R2 was Yoda when he was beating him with the stick.
Beating him.
So Mando's waiting, and then we get right into it, man. Like there's no sidestepping. There's no we get Luke and Grogu right away.
Immediately. Yeah. I loved how they jumped into it.
Yeah.
They did not make us wait. They just went right to it.
It wasn't a mystery. It wasn't like, we get just one scene of Luke at the very end. Luke is in this episode a lot.
He's in the episode, I think, the most out of everybody.
Yeah.
I think easily more than anybody in this episode.
Yeah. So we get him, they're meditating, this beautiful shot. Right away, as we're transitioning to where Luke and Grogu are, we're passing by some like bamboo and like lush hills and stuff. And as I'm looking at it, I'm like, and I see the hut that the ants are building, the androids. I'm like, this must be the same planet that we see in a flashback in The Last Jedi when this whole thing is burning down and Luke is,
Oh yeah, no. I think there's no doubt in my mind. That's where his academy was. That's where Kylo Ren burnt down. Destroyed. That is the location.
Which is
I just don't know the location.
No, we never got a name for that planet, and we still don't. But it kind of gives an era of melancholy and sadness through this whole episode. Of course, we're like seeing this thing start here, like on this planet. He's got his first student, and he's building his academy, and we're going to see how that ends up eventually, which is sad.
I like the connection though.
I
like how everyone's got a big. I won't say everyone. There's a lot of people that have issues with what Disney has done with Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
If you are really married to what's now Legends content or whatever it is, or you don't like which most people don't, the most recent sequel trilogy.
Yeah.
What you can't dispute is everything that they've done is all interconnected. It's all woven together. If you're reading a book, you can see that character or something pop up in a movie, or vice versa. Or now we see this location in this episode of Book of Boba Fett that we've seen in the sequel trilogy.
I think there's a lot to be forgiven considering there was a whole 30-year span in between episodes 6 and 7, Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens. We all had we envisioned as, kids growing up, teenagers, as we were reading the now Legends novels and stuff, all these adventures of Luke Skywalker post Return of the Jedi. Mm-hmm. And to see him in the sequel trilogy, how he was, it just wasn't very satisfying for any of us. But now, little did we know that now Disney is giving us some of that stuff that we were craving for all that time. We get to see Luke again be primetime Luke, and it's just a joy to watch.
It looks visually
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
From seeing Luke, and I had no issue with Luke. I thought Luke was fine. I mean, yeah, the deep
At
fake
the end of,
thing.
that last season of Mandalorian,
Yeah, well,
you mean?
even this one here today, the most recent book of Boba Fett, I had no problem with the way he looked. I mean, it did nothing took me out of the episode when he was,
No.
the main character or the main one talking or the
He looked
interactions were with
amazing.
him. Yeah,
Yeah, it was even better. Like, I didn't have an issue with how he looked in the Mando season finale, but he
yeah.
actually looks even better this time around. Like,
The
he's fully lit in the sunshine. He's walking around, like, his hair, like, whatever wig they got on the guy is even better. However, whatever magic they're using to make Mark Hamill, like, 32 years old again and walk around with Grogu is just insane. I can't believe I'm watching it when I'm
it's
watching it.
come a long way since we seen Leia. And,
Yes, true.
yeah, it's come a long way since we've seen that, and it's awesome that they can do that. I mean, it's one of those things because we're in a period of time, if they're gonna continue telling stories in this time frame,
Yeah.
they need to be able to do that and have it not pull us out of the story they're telling us.
I'm fully on board now where we may eventually get some sort of a Luke Jedi Academy show, like The Adventures of Luke Skywalker.
Ooh,
I know that's something that you said that you probably didn't want, right, at some
I
point?
don't know if I want that, but I also don't know if I want a full show of a like a deep fake character. You know
Right,
what I
right.
mean? It'll
True.
be you know how I see I don't even think they'd be able to do that just financially. Imagine how expensive that would be.
I would think that this episode would be crazy expensive. Maybe it was. Maybe that's why the rest of this season of Book of Boba Fett looks so dang cheap.
We had one of our actual viewers mention that. He said, "Are they saving the budget for the end of the season?" And so far, that person's been correct.
Yeah, that might be true. Yeah. So they're Luke, Grogu, they're meditating. There's a cute little scene with Grogu trying to eat a frog, and Luke's like, "Hey, you'll use the Force. You can lift all these frogs up." They decide to go for a walk, and during this walk, Luke starts to talk about Yoda. We called Grogu Baby Yoda for
Yeah,
a whole year and a half,
you
and
reminded me of someone who used to talk in riddles.
yeah, which I thought was very cool. He was dropping some Yoda lines like, size matters not, and it was just amazing to see the role reversal between, what we saw in Empire and Return of the Jedi, Master Student, Master and
Yeah,
Padawan, and to see that switch now that we actually get to see Master Luke Skywalker
I
with
like
the
to.
Padawan.
Yeah, I like the little, just the little, like the little force thing he was using. Walking and he was swiping his hand, and he was
Yeah.
just kind of bumping, Grogu forward, so you have to, follow so far behind him.
Yeah, if you've ever been to the zoo or the mall or anything with a toddler, you know exactly what that feels like. It's like,
Well, at
"Come
least he didn't
on."
put him on a leash like some people do nowadays.
True. Yeah. So yeah, they talk a little bit, and Luke's like, "Hey, this Yoda guy was a lot like you. How about your home planet or whatnot?" I forget what he says specifically, but
Did you know
would you
anyone
like
else
to
that
remember
spoke like
them?
you?
Yeah, and I think Luke's intention is for Grogu to remember where he came from, but I think unintentionally he opens up Grogu's memories, and what we
This
see
was
is
fantastic.
this was yet another nugget in this episode of like, oh my god, an OMG moment of seeing Order
When
66.
Yeah, when they connected, because we always wondered, was he actually in the temple when Order 66 actually took place? This verifies he was there.
And the 501st was shooting over his head and killing Jedi in front of him, and yeah,
And
it was
somehow, yeah, he was able to, escape and evade being
yeah,
while being by yay big.
his memory cuts off at the exact moment that we find out, like, what exactly, like, who came to the rescue for him.
Yeah. Yeah, who
Um,
got him out of there when he needed to get out. So that was cool. Like you said, that was another one of those just shock and awe moments. Like, hold
yeah,
on.
yeah,
And this is and that's what I said about last episode. And now I think it's holding true to this episode. Filoni is listening to the fans.
right.
Why? What was with the dark saber? Why didn't what's her face take it in the last season?
Hmm.
We were all wondering, was Grogu in the temple when this took place?
Yeah,
And he's answering those questions for us step by step. So I full
and I
marks right
think
now.
we as a fandom appreciate that because I got to. It's almost as though like Filoni is like watching all these YouTube reactions and
Hmm.
like, or at least some of them, and being like, okay, so this is what fans are talking about. These are the plot threads that we want to continue to pull, to because it's really piqued the interest of the fandom. And they're right. We need like more and more. And he's given us just another taste, just
Yeah.
another taste, another hint.
It's very awesome, but it's very dangerous.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
It's
It could
very dangerous.
backfire. Yeah.
We can run this into the ground if you really want to try.
So after that scene, we actually go back to Mando. He's waking up from the bench and he snaps awake and points his pistol right at Ahsoka. Another OMG
What?
moment.
What?
Where'd you come from?
Huh? Why are you there?
So immediately they're like, "Oh my god, it's Ahsoka. Oh my god, she knows Luke. Oh my god, they've already had conversations. She's here with him." And immediately you're just thinking all these things like,
Is she
eh,
number two?
right,
With him? Is she helping, assisting him with this?
yeah,
What's really going on? And
yeah,
come to find out, she's there because she knew that Mando was coming, and she
right,
just kind of prepared Luke for that she played diversion. R2 brought him to her
yeah,
rather than taking him to Luke. So I mean, it was a nice little thing there.
yeah. I think Christopher's got a theory
Oh,
here. Dream theory: Mace Windu saved Grogu. Boba Fett's flashbacks connect with him getting revenge for killing Django. Boom! Oh wow, that would be quite a nice little thread tied. That would be neat. So, like, wait, I wonder if Christopher thinks that maybe Mace Windu makes an appearance. No, that
it
can't be.
no.
Nope.
Talk
That'd be a
about
bridge too
blowing.
far, I
That'd be a
think.
boom. But we don't have enough. We don't have enough time for that level boom
Yeah.
in this show. I mean, they've already loaded this down.
This is a bit of a distraction, but, like, how do you feel about the whole idea of Sam Jackson, Mace Windu's character? We explore that more. Would you rather keep him dead as of Revenge of the Sith, or do you think there's more to that character?
We didn't see him die. Frankly,
Right.
we seen him get chucked out a window.
Yeah.
And I mean, if we don't see a body, there's no reason to think they're dead. Boba Fett was sucked in by a sarlacc. Let's be real.
Right,
Uh,
true. Yeah.
so if Windu popped back up, that'd be fair. If we seen what if we seen Windu in Obi-Wan? Just if he was alive and he just kind of popped in, you know what I mean? I don't know. I
That's where I would prefer to explore it, because if you have Mace Windu alive in these times, post the original trilogy, you start opening up all these things as though like, well, where have you been this whole time? How does it make sense that Yoda told Luke that, the last of the Jedi are you now that I'm dying? Like, you know what I mean? We
yeah.
kind of wiggled our way around that with Ahsoka, because Ahsoka's technically like not a Jedi
Yeah,
anymore or
she walked
whatever.
away from the actual
Right,
yeah.
but, like, the more Jedi that are alive during the time of Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, the more that doesn't make sense
Well, I
anymore.
always kind of felt like there were more Jedi. There were more
Mhm.
out there. I mean, I feel like once Yoda went to Dagobah, he shut himself off to everything to protect himself.
Yeah,
And he knew of, where Obi-Wan was and what Obi-Wan's mission was.
right.
And really the only thing that Yoda was doing was learning the ways of the living force.
Yeah.
So that was the only thing that he was really doing. So the fact that there could have been more that survived, I don't think it's a stretch. And for him to think that no one else survived, I don't think it's a stretch either.
No, because I mean, even Cal Kestis, I mean, there's so many of them went into hiding after Order
Yeah.
66. So, yeah, there's probably a ton of, like, Force users out there. But a lot of them, like you said, a lot of them, like Cal Kestis, like, shutting themselves off, and, like, because the Empire was
Yeah.
so heinous at that
Well,
time.
there's an episode of Clone Wars we're going to speak to when we get a little further along
Okay.
that connects, I believe, things to Inquisitors and later
Oh,
on with Palpatine.
okay, yeah. Put a
So
pin in
yeah,
that.
yeah. So we'll get into that here in a little bit.
So Mando's like, Mando knows Ahsoka from last season. He's like, "What are you doing here?" And there was a couple lines she gives where it made me smile. She actually said, "Hey, I'm a friend of the family,"
Yeah,
and she actually addresses Luke by Master Luke. I think it was the first time that I've ever heard the word Master Luke in a Star Wars property, and it's just like made me smile. It felt so good, because it's like I've heard that all the time. Maybe 3PO said it, Master Luke, but that's not
yeah.
having
But it
to.
wasn't coming from somebody else.
Right, yeah. So that was cool. But she kind of hesitantly leads him to Grogu. He says he's there to see the kid. He wants to give him a gift,
Are
and
you doing this for him or you? So
right.
she was kind of like giving him the third degree. It's like, why are you truly here?
Right. And she was making some valid points, but then at the same time, I was a little confused because I don't know, like, would both Luke and Ahsoka both still really hold tight to this old style doctrine that the,
I don't
Old
think
Republic Jedi had?
Ahsoka, no. There is nothing to this point that tells me Ahsoka would. She
Mhm.
walked away because everyone turned their back on her. Why
Right.
would she not? I mean, yeah, no. Now Luke maybe because Luke was being taught everything from Yoda, and that was one of Yoda's deal. He was reading from the old Jedi texts.
Right.
He was pulling all that, so I can see Luke. Ahsoka, not so much. That one
Luke
is a little bit stretch.
Luke I can buy because his experience with the Jedi was only with old Ben, old Obi-Wan and Yoda. And they probably didn't express their regrets. Yoda probably didn't go into with Luke, his regrets of what the Jedi Order was when it
Yeah,
fell. So there just wasn't time for that, honestly. But so Luke's probably trying to restore the order as it was before the Empire got to it. He was probably trying to get it back to the way it was right before that. When Ahsoka was there. Ahsoka saw it
yeah. She's seen it
with
all
her
go
own
down.
eyes. So yeah, as far as a character beat, but then at the same time, like, well, maybe we'll get into that. Well, maybe we'll get some good dialogue with Ahsoka in the actual Ahsoka show.
Yeah. Oh, I
Maybe
think
we'll
there's a
get into
lot
that.
coming when it comes to Ahsoka. I
Yeah.
mean, I would not be shocked if we see Luke in
Yeah.
Ahsoka.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
they're connecting so much, and in the way their end of their interaction and went,
Right.
was awesome as well. But I just loved when they walked up, like you said, you see them out there. They're going back and forth with the meditation, the frogs, the walking, all of that. Just all that interaction was great. But when Ahsoka gives Luke the gift that the Mandalorian brought,
Right.
and you can see the look in his face, like this isn't good. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? This isn't what I wanted. I wanted, and this one I think was a little bit of the how would I put this? The downfall of the Jedi that I seen in Luke in this episode.
Okay.
I didn't want him to come here. I didn't want him to give him this gift. So now he's making Luke make the choice. Not Luke, I'm sorry, making Grogu make the choice.
Right.
And that was really what led to the downfall of the Jedi, the blindness. That was everything they wanted. Once I had power, I wanted to retain the power.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you see that I seen it in Luke when he said when that moment. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I don't know if anyone else got that. It was just something that I kind
A
of
feeling that you got too. Yeah, well,
yeah
there's a lot of mixed feelings here because we know how things work out. I mean, we're watching a prequel to the sequels, basically. We
yeah
know how Luke ends up and his thoughts of the Force. Like, he ends up hating the Force by the Last Jedi.
yeah
And so yeah, for him to be, eventually we're going to see the progression, I think, maybe of what that looks like. But just in the same way we're going to see this temple, this academy end up in flames. Yeah, there are some, it's very strange because it's like we know how this ends up. Almost like the prequels, watching the prequels, like you watch little Annie
yeah.
and you're like, oh, that cute little kid, oh, he's such a good pod racer, and you're like, oh, I don't know.
That's
Uh,
funny. You know what? Let's watch this real quick. The clip that there's a clip with Anakin and Ahsoka, and they're just talking back and forth. And it's
I mean,
kind of about what we've
Luke
been
and
talking about
Ahsoka.
here. Yeah, Luke, not Anakin. Oop. Here we go.
Sometimes I wonder if his heart is in it.
So much like your father.
What should I do about him?
Trust your instincts.
A couple things I want to mention before you discuss Luke. First of all, just what we just saw visually. We just saw a live action Ahsoka Tana talking to Return of the Jedi era Luke Skywalker, discussing, how Luke is like his father, Anakin. Like, if you would have told me that there would be a live action 4K HDR scene like that a couple years ago, I would have been like, there's no way.
Yeah,
What are you
they
talking
couldn't pull
about?
that off. Yeah,
But here we are. This is the Star Wars world that we live in right now. We're getting scenes like this where we actually see a conversation, an interaction between Ahsoka Tano, played by Rosaria Dawson,
Who
and
was
a
a
very
Padawan of Anakin.
right, who's in live action now, who's mired in just being an animated character for
Yeah.
a decade or more, talking to a de-aged, looking incredible young Mark Hamill playing Luke Skywalker, which, the magic of puppetry and CG and deepfakes and all that stuff that goes into that. But I just wanted to marvel for a second at just like the fact that we just actually watched that with our own
Yeah,
eyes.
yeah. Seeing those two on the screen at the same time was one of those moments for a lot of people. Like, hold on, I
Yeah,
never thought this would ever be possible. A lot of people questioned if Ahsoka needed to even be in the episode, but really, the scene with those two together,
yeah,
that really that is hearkening just to Star Wars guys. That's all that is. That's
right.
connecting so much stuff. That's connecting animated stuff. Father son. There's so many like threads that are be connected there, which is it's
The
fun to
only thing
see.
that I regret, and hopefully they actually maybe flash back and revisit this during the Ahsoka show, I regret not seeing the first time that these two meet. Because I mean, what was that conversation like? You know what I
That's
mean?
true. Yeah.
Like,
Because he's gonna
hey,
sense her, and he's gonna know she's not, she's sensitive. She's a force sensitive.
right.
She's got two lightsabers on her hip. What's going on?
So the fact that we've already kind of skipped over them meeting for the first time is kind of stinks, but I'm sure hopefully we get that, and hopefully we get to see that in live action. If not, maybe there'll be a comic or something. But
Hey, Filoni, you're hearing us right now, right?
exactly,
If
yes,
you're watching, that's what we
yeah,
need.
that's what we need. Yeah, give us a flashback during the Ahsoka show to actually see that. But I mean, this is gold. I mean, Ahsoka talking about you think of like Luke and Leia too. Like they never got to know their parents. Luke invested the original trilogy trying to redeem his father because he saw the
Yeah,
good in him, and to have his feelings and his judgment and his call during that trilogy be validated and rewarded by somebody who was that close to him as Ahsoka
yeah,
afterwards, like that must have been just as a character for Luke must have been like mind blowing for him.
yeah. No, exactly. No, we've gushed about this scene a lot,
Yeah.
but there's one thing I didn't like, honestly.
Okay.
Why was he asking her, "What should I do?" I kind of heard it's like, why is he looking for someone else's validation if he's Master Skywalker now? Why would he even think? Why would he want her opinion? And then that would lead up to what you were saying, though. What was that first interaction? What does he know of her past? What is there? Because that would explain a lot. But why is he like almost in? I don't
No.
want to say a whiny voice, but like not knowing the path he should take now.
I didn't mind that at all because in my headspace, I'm like, think of where Luke is. He's only interacted. He lost Ben pretty soon after he got, used to Ben. Yoda's gone. He's essentially alone. He feels alone in the galaxy. He's got the weight of the galaxy on his shoulders to recreate the Jedi. And there's this person that is his elder. I mean,
Yeah,
Rosario Dawson's fairly young and stuff, but I mean, this is a person that was his father's contemporary, that was there in the Jedi Order during the time before the
mhm.
Clone Wars, was in the thick of this stuff. So, in all honesty, like he should be pretty deferential to her, because I
But does
mean,
he know that, though? I mean, does he really? I mean, and
I
that's
assume
just
yes.
that's
Like these
just
two talk to each other like they know each other. They didn't meet just yesterday. Like I think they've known each other for a while. This is
yeah,
5 years
yeah,
after
because there
Return of the
wasn't a
Jedi.
whole lot of like react. There was a reaction, but not a big reaction, like just like your father.
Hmm.
If she would have dropped that on him without him having any idea that she knew
Right.
who he was, there may have been a bigger reaction.
Yeah, so that's how I took it, is that we're actually probably, a couple seasons into these two relationship. I think she knew him when she met Mando back on season 1 of Mandalorian, or season 2, whatever
Season two,
episode that
yeah.
was. I think she knew him at that point, and for her to say something like, so much like your father, and he just kind of smiles, like, which it's funny. I say that, and it harkens back to Uncle Owen saying, too much of his father in him. That's what it reminds me of from A New Hope. But that's how I took it, is like he essentially, like, she is his elder, and he's just kind of
Yeah.
given he's probably yearning for respect and like or yearning for advice. Like, who else is it going to ask? Like, I'm sure, Force Ghost Ben and Force Ghost Yoda don't like pop up every week to give him some lessons on
Yeah,
how to do
right.
this stuff.
Let's have a book club, guys.
He's clawing for like, somebody
Yeah.
help me.
And I mean, she's further along than he would have ever been. I mean,
Sure.
she went well through that Padawan stage.
Yeah.
And she would have easily been a Jedi Knight if she didn't turn her back on it and walk away after the whole instance of her being accused of bombing the Jedi Temple.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess, like I said, I was just nitpicking. That is a straight just nitpick, honestly, on my part. That was just something that's like I was wondering because we talked a little bit before we went live here and said I've got a little thing. I'm curious what your opinion is on this scene here, but I'm good with it, honestly.
Okay. So Ahsoka takes off at this point.
Well,
She's
she
like,
said, well, there was the whole interaction. It's like, oh, will I see you again?
yeah,
And she's kind of like maybe.
right. Perhaps. Yeah.
Yeah, well, there was like no definitive answer, which leaves that storyline wide open. It's like,
Right.
okay, she may come, she may go, she may do her own thing. I want to see her double bladed, 2 white lightsabers lit.
Yeah.
I would have loved to see them just practice duel. Could you imagine those two?
Oh, how epic would that have been? As he's like, he was doing his green bladed kata there in the woods earlier in the episode. Yeah, that would have been
If
amazing.
those two were just going back, oh, that would have been fun.
Yeah.
Oh man, okay, now we're going down.
But here's what this episode does also, and just besides the fact of how it's the geekdom seeing these two together on screen, but this gives us a little preview of. I mean, we do know that an Ahsoka show is coming, so like just to remind us as an audience, like, hey, this is Ahsoka. She's got other important things to do. They're so important, in fact, that she's not even going to stick around here with Luke to like help him get Jedi together.
Yeah,
Like,
Criss brings up a good point here.
Mm-hmm.
They would have known each other back when the second Death Star blew up because she was Fulcrum in Rebels, heavily involved in a rebellion on the other side. So I wonder if he would have known her by name or known her by Fulcrum. Because she interacted with, Syndulla.
With Syndulla, right?
And also with Senator, what was his name? Luke, Leia's dad.
Organa. Yeah.
So I wonder if he ever seen her actually in person or knew her name, but knew her just as Fulcrum.
Yeah, I don't know. You assume that everybody in the rebellion would kind of know each other, kind of like a small town or something. But I've read some of the comics, the Star Wars comics that like take place in between episodes 4 and episodes 5 and 6. And I've never seen any like mention of them. But yeah, you're right. Maybe you would assume that maybe that would be the case, but maybe not. Because I mean, Luke was kind of busy with the whole Jedi thing.
Yeah, he had a lot
getting his head
on.
around that, but Leia, I would think would have known.
Leia would have absolutely. It would have been.
That's where it gets real sketchy with Ahsoka being around during this time because it's like
because that's Leia's forte. It was all about the politics and everything and strategy and everything. So she was right.
She would have known everybody's name.
Yes.
Yeah.
But hey, guys, if you got this far with us, well, first and foremost, thanks for hanging in there with us. We enjoy you being here.
Yeah.
If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Interact. You've already seen it now. We have Christopher with us. We pull up questions from him or comments from him, and we address them. So if you're out there watching, go ahead and do the same, and we'll do the same with you. But we're going to continue with this. The dark saber.
It's been cool to see Din show Ahsoka the dark saber. I know another missed opportunity. The show is going by so quick.
What if he just cut his leg again? I mean, come on. He's just picking up, the knife out of the dishwasher the wrong way.
He does need some lessons. Yeah, some training, some practice there in the woods would have been beneficial, I think. But he gone. He back to Tatooine.
Yeah, no. Okay, I'm gonna hit the pause on button here, and this is all Chris's fault. I'm gonna blame him.
Uh-oh.
What if we see Mando back with Luke with the darksaber, getting lessons directly from Luke in Mando season 3?
I can see that. Yeah,
like you said, he's got to learn how to wield it. If it's getting heavier and he's fighting a blade, he's got to know what he's doing with it.
I can see that, and maybe we should, because that kind of leads us to like, what are we going to see in the last episode of this show, and what are we going to see in Mando season 3? Like, what is that going to look like? I think there's a very good chance of that, considering Luke was introduced in The Mandalorian.
Mhm.
He was back in a big bad way in this episode, and just the Book of Boba Fett. Who knew? Like he'd be in this show. So for him to come back for at least 1 or 2 episodes in season 3 of The Mandalorian, I think there's a big chance of that. Honestly,
That would be something. I mean,
yeah,
he's not force sensitive, but he would have to learn how to wield it,
right.
which is crazy. Like I said, I blame Chris.
So we leave Luke and Grogu and Ahsoka for the time being. Ahsoka splits. She's off to bigger, better things. Hopefully, she's tracking down Thrawn. But that's a whole nother thing, by the way.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
can't wait for all that.
let's not go down that road because
Yeah,
I'll
that's a whole
never
nother
come back
rabbit
to the
hole.
Book of Boba Fett. We got bigger things on this episode. No, we
Yeah.
got things that are equally good on this episode.
So
Nothing's definitely bigger than Thrawn.
Din heads back to Tatooine. He lands in the Jabba's hangar again, and Fennec Shand is already mid-meeting. We've got the whole squad here. We've got the Vespa squad. We've got Black Chrysanthemum. We've even got the mayor's old Twi'lek assistant, Major
Yeah,
Domo.
Major Domo, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if he's still cuffed or not. I think he is still cuffed.
I think he was cuffed, yeah.
Yeah,
It was a planned vacation.
right. Fennec's given the breakdown, like, hey, we got muscle now that we got this Mandalorian, we got Black Chrysanthemum, we've got enforcers, but we need numbers, we need foot soldiers. What are we gonna do? And before Boba Fett can say anything, Mandalorian's like, I think I can help with that. And once again, Boba Fett gets like almost no dialogue, if any, this episode of his
That
own
was really the
show.
only time we seen him.
Yeah.
We seen him for like a 2-minute clip, and 2 minutes is being gracious here. I don't even think it was that long.
No.
And then they're back to Mos Espa. Mos Pelgo. I'm sorry, Mos Pelgo.
Yeah, that's
we're
the
back-
biggest complaint of this show so far is like, where is Boba Fett at the end of this series called The Book of Boba Fett? It feels like people were like getting too much of Boba Fett, between the flashbacks and the current stuff, and they were like, "This is not my Boba Fett. Oh, he's so different." And now it's like he's not in any scenes, and people are like, "Where'd Boba Fett go?"
Where'd he go? Yeah.
That's what. So it's kind of imbalanced. This show. So
I am
far,
Boba Fett. We haven't gotten any of that in 2 episodes.
I know. But yeah, so we take off again. We split from Jabba's palace. We follow Mando again. He goes back to Mos Pelgos. He passes the Jawa sandcrawler that now has the Crate Dragon skull.
Yeah, they're waving at him as he goes by.
Yeah, which I
That
thought,
was
what
funny.
a cool callback. And
Yeah.
even I don't know if you noticed, this was more subtle, but when he goes back to the bar in Mos Pelgos, they actually
Yeah.
have the rib bones.
Yeah,
Up in the
with
bar.
index, yeah. Although the first watch through, I didn't catch it.
I
The
didn't catch it
second one
either.
I watched.
Second one, it was
Yeah,
like, oh
I
man,
absolutely
how cool
got
was that? Yeah. But he gets there. The deputy gives him crap as he's trying to land. This new deputy we've never seen before. He's got some lines of dialogue, and already like, oh, who's this guy? And we get introduced to him by Cobb Vanth. He comes out. Don't mind him. He's new. And essentially, Mando is asking Cobb Vanth if, like, hey, your townspeople, they did a great job with this Crate Dragon. They're tough, and we could really use some help over here in Mos Espa. But it's like there's really no good reason right now for them to get involved.
Yeah, not at all.
They just changed their name to Freetown. They're living the good life. But with the interaction that we had at the beginning of the episode, we know that Cobb Vanth is aware of the Pikes.
Other Pikes and running the spice through Tatooine and everything.
Yeah,
And that's why I was like, you know what? Let's get them together. Let's go ahead and have a conversation.
right.
And they may be convinced after I tell them what I know, because I don't even think the town knew that
No.
he had an interaction with them on the outskirts of town.
I don't think so. I think it would have been interesting to see that eventual town meeting, but that town meeting's interrupted after Mandalorian leaves. It never
Oh
happens.
yeah, no, dude. Okay, so man, you guys wanted to record my reaction to this situation. I
Mhm.
had no idea, so I'm just watching it and going. And then, dude,
I got to you too late.
oh man, there was a silhouette out there, and I seen a hat, and I seen the trench coat, and I went, okay. So I was sitting all the way back in my couch. My couch is real deep. I got the armoire. I got my foot up on it. I'm sitting on my other leg. I go from that's like that situation to on the edge of my couch, verbally yelling, "There is no effing way that's who this is."
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm freaking out, and then he gets closer. I'm like, I think I even stood up. I was pumped because I've been trying to talk this guy into existence in this show from the very beginning.
It's been rumored this whole season. People have been like, "When are we going to see Cad Bane?" Like, okay, we're going to see more bounty hunters and more of the Star Wars underworld, and like, we haven't seen Cad Bane yet.
And
Where
he is
is
the
he?
baddest of. If you're gonna bring Black Chrysanthemum in, you
Yeah,
have to bring Bane in on the other side
yeah,
because they are two of the biggest badasses when it comes to bounty hunting. And
yeah,
there was no way they could have gotten around it. But I lost faith. I thought there was
yeah.
no way they were doing it.
This late in
But
the season.
yeah, I mean, how can you actually pull him in and make sense
Yeah.
of it? And oh my god, dude, no, let's
I
just watch
remember
this.
you saying for years, because for the Star Wars layman, as far as you think Star Wars bounty hunter, you first think Boba Fett because he's the most famous one that's been in the movies and stuff. But all this time, ever since you first watched the Clone Wars, you were like, "Nah, Boba Fett ain't it. Boba Fett ain't it, dude. It's Cad Bane. You don't know
Yeah,
Cad Bane?"
and the funny thing was that was when my Star Wars fandom overtook yours. It was always
Yeah,
you. You
yeah,
were always the one that got me into it back, the original trilogy, then the prequels. I was kind of a fan, because you were.
yeah. You're a
And
casual
just
fan, yeah,
and just like how you were a sports fan because I was when we were growing up.
right,
Well, we grew up, we moved different areas, and then my son Zach went ahead and found Clone Wars on his own.
yeah.
And then we start watching through it, and that's when
It
I
was
become a
over
book
from that
nerd,
point, yeah.
and just all the above. I mean, I found
Now you got all those
Thrawn,
little
yeah,
Lego sets behind you, and an
yeah,
actual
exactly. You
lightsaber,
see
and
Baby Yoda back
yeah,
there, and all of them.
it was over. But Cad Bane was one of those characters that you really gravitated towards.
Dude, I just loved how no BS he was.
Yeah,
He was straight to the point. He would get the job done, and he would get out.
right.
Breaking into the Senate building, kidnapping, Amidala and all them in there, and blowing up the East Wing and getting away.
Yeah.
Breaking out of prisons, breaking into the Jedi Temple and stealing a holocron. How
Wow.
do you break into the Jedi Temple, steal a holocron, get out, kill a Jedi to be able to open the holocron
Yeah.
and survive?
He's BA bounty
Dude,
hunter.
and that's one of the what I wanted to talk about real quick. That situation, that episode, because we were talking about the Inquisitors.
Okay.
He was hired by Palpatine to go ahead and get the holocron, get the gel, the crystal to open it up,
Yeah.
because that's when Palpatine wanted to find other force sensitive kids for his army.
Hmm.
And at the time, we had no idea what he's talking about. Later, come to find out, he's using force sensitive to hunt down other Jedi as the Inquisitors. And I'm like, light bulb went off. I was like, dang, that is freaking fantastic.
Yeah.
I went through and watched all the Clone Wars episodes. And guys, if you're interested in those Clone War episodes, if you don't know which ones they are, if you're watching on YouTube, go over to the show description, click, hit the down button to see it.
Yeah.
And everyone's there. Each season, the episode number and the name. And you'll see why I fell in love with Bane as much as I did.
Yeah. Chris did his homework this week and pulled the references and resources. It's down in the show notes underneath the video here on YouTube. So go check that out.
But so there's one more thing I want to touch on before we
Okay.
get really into it, the rest of the episode. We've always wondered and wanted to know where the actual dent in Boba Fett's helmet came from.
Yeah.
Now, this isn't canon or anything because it never actually made this season of Clone Wars.
Hmm.
There was an episode of Clone Wars that was supposed to air in season 7 before it was scrapped. So it was scrapped in season 6, it was ended,
Right.
and then it was brought back for the final season 7.
Like a few years later.
Yeah, it was more than, I think it was almost 10 years.
Yeah.
It was a long ways. So there was an interaction between Cad Bane and young Boba Fett, and there was an actual duel.
Yeah.
They shot each other in the head, and this is where everyone thought Bane was dead. But since it wasn't canon, there was nothing. It never made anything.
Right.
But that was going to be their explanation on where that dent in Boba Fett's helmet came from.
Yeah. And we didn't see him again in any form of media until the Bad Batch recently.
That's
Year.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would have been episode in season 7, but never came to fruition.
Right.
But that's actually, if you want to see an unclipped, unfinished version of that, that's in the show description as well. Click on that. I'll send you to another YouTuber's link that actually put it up. But that will give you some actual context on that as well. So yeah, I went down a full rabbit hole when it came to Bane, man. I was so pumped.
Yeah, Christopher brings it up. So are we gonna get the backstory of Cad Bane and Boba Fett, or just a oh shit face look from a Fett when he sees him?
We may be getting the rematch. We may be getting what we didn't get in Clone Wars.
I
There
would
may
love to
be.
just hear a line of dialogue, just like Cad Bane say something about the dent. That's all I need. Just mention it, and we'll know. We'll know that that's where that came from.
I would love because when they look at each other, just as much as Boba Fett knew who Black Chrysanthemum was,
Yeah,
him looking across the table and seeing the biggest badass in the galaxy standing across from him. I
yeah.
don't care. It just gives me chills, man. Dude, I
Because
can't.
Boba's walking around with that helmet awful lot, and he's walking down the streets of Tatooine. I would love to see Cad Bane just walk up and just be like, "Better put that helmet on, boy. You know what happened last time." Something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, because there's gonna be such a time difference between when they were first seeing each other and now, because he was still a kid in Clone Wars,
Right.
and he was a pretty good kid. I mean, not. I mean, he was a ruthless kid. He fit what he became.
Well, he was Jango Fett's son, like
Yeah.
tip off the old block.
So that was all fitting. So when he came back, and that was the one thing I heard is like, yeah, I thought he was dead. Why is he alive? But it's like it's those people that are married to either what's legends or what wasn't, or really what wasn't.
Right.
But man, yeah, okay. Now that I'm done gloating, let's just go ahead and see this dude.
Yeah,
and what he
let's
looked
watch
like
it.
in
Why not?
real life here. And let's go.
It's real to me, damn it.
Boba Fett is a cold-blooded killer who worked for the Empire.
You tell your spice runners Tatooine's closed for business. This planet's seen enough violence.
You should have never given up your armor.
Oh, he shouldn't have given up his armor. That could be a reference back to Boba Fett as well.
Yeah.
Oh
True,
man,
yeah.
dude, I can't.
You get chills, man. What an introduction. I love the way they created him, by the way. Like, we get to see an actor's mouth. It's some sort of combination between makeup and I think the eyes got some CG going on to make
Yeah.
him more expressive and glow that red and stuff. But however however they concocted this, they did a stellar job because it's seamless. And there's no uncanny valley. It's not like you're looking at him, you're like, oh, that looks weird or fake. Like, it looks straight up like it should.
Yeah.
And he's threatening, man. He's scary.
Oh, I love it when he was just looking down and you didn't see him and he's just talking, you see his teeth.
Oh,
And then when he looks up and he's like, I never
the
got your
brim
name.
of the hat
friend."
goes up and you see
Yeah.
those bulbous red eyes. Like,
Well,
what an
Vanth
intro.
even kind of like he
He
hesitates.
was crapping his pants, dude. He was like, who is this
"Whoa,
guy?
Who do we got going on here? He never tells him.
Yeah,
He never says his name.
we know.
Yeah. And it was just one
I
of those
don't.
things. It was so menacing. He didn't have to.
Right.
His voice matched. Like, I
Yeah.
had no issue with his voice. Some people had a little bit of issue with the blue tone, which should have been a little darker. I've got no problem with that. They had his breathing apparatus.
Yeah,
on the
there's a
side of
few
his
reasons
face.
for that too. I mean, one, it's like the Clone Wars were stylized versions of stuff. So it's like the Anakin and Obi-Wan in Clone Wars don't look exactly like Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor. You know what I mean? Like, it was
Yeah.
very stylized cartoon. So who knows what Cad Bane would have looked like in real life? But he's also a lot older than we've seen him last time. Like, he's older. He's in the desert. He's dried out. Could be paler and pudgier. Like, who knows? People are nitpicking that kind of thing too. I thought he
Yeah.
looked great.
Yeah, no, the whole thing. I loved how quick. So we didn't even get it because we limit ourselves to how long of a clip we get.
Yeah,
But it goes right back to how quick a draw he was.
yeah,
I mean, he shot the marshal once, like it looked like in the shoulder,
yeah.
and then he lit up his deputy like 4 or 5
Right.
shots. Like, he
Yeah.
purposely made him a Martin, just blew him up.
Yeah,
So you know
like,
what? You
like, kid, you're stupid for not going in like your marshal told you to.
spoke out of
done.
turn. Now you done
Right.
did. And I think he purposely only shot Vanth once.
I think he did too. Yeah,
Look, the second time I watched, I was like, you know what? He could have, went back and hit him a couple more times, but he was like,
it was very explicit. He could have ended him, but he didn't. Yeah,
yeah. And it's the point where it's like, you know what? You don't mess with us,
yeah.
we won't mess with you.
Right.
And
Yeah, because that's the messaging, right? Like,
yeah,
you just stay in your happy little town and leave things alone and, we won't mess with you. But, ultimately that's not going to be the case. The Pikes are going to move in and do whatever the heck they want.
yeah,
Give them an inch, they're going to end up taking a mile. So, these townspeople, we see the Weequay, the bartender, the marshal's friend, look up after the marshal's shot. And you can get the vibe like these town folks are going to take this and they're going to
yeah.
end up
They're gonna
being
be a
on
part of
Boba's
it. Yeah.
side. Yeah.
But
Um,
really, this is the first because everyone's been saying how like this had a feeling going into it of a Godfather type show.
yeah.
This was the first shots fired,
Yes.
really.
Right.
When they sent their dude into town to send a message, and then we see it again later. There's
Yeah.
another message sent. It's like, okay, the Pikes are stepping up their game. It's like, okay, we've
This
had
is more
enough.
like the Pike. You thought this was more like I think this is more like the Pikes that you thought we were going to see when we saw the Pikes, right? Just like they're
Yes.
very intimidating. So far in the show, they hadn't been all that intimidating, but this episode, they're pretty intimidating.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But dude, after I was done gushing, watching them walk away, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm pumped. I don't know where they're gonna go from there. I don't know how much more we're gonna get of him, but the fact that we've seen him in live action,
And he's a player on the board.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which I mean, he was not easy to capture, but he was captured. He was put in prison a few times, but he broke out every time. So he
Yeah.
was easy to catch, sometimes easy to catch, but impossible to hold on to.
We leave Mos Pelcos. That's where we leave it. Cad Bane walks off. The townspeople are mad. Deputy's dead. Marshal's probably still alive. They got him some stim packs. And then we get a very short clip coming up here back in Mos Espa. We've got Madame Garza's casino that we've revisited here a few times this season, and we check back in with them.
Oh, excuse me. But wait, you forgot your Captuna.
That was like a scene out of a mafia movie.
Yeah.
That the stakes are raised. This was a place that Boba Fett promised would be protected under his,
his
wing.
watch. Yep.
And, let's see how good your word is, Boba Fett. Oh, it means nothing because the Pikes are in town and this is their town.
And the minute she knew, she
she
connected
knew.
the dots. She was like, and it was just too late.
It was gone. She's gone. Luckily, I did not see Max Rebo there. I think Max Rebo avoided death a second time. Max Rebo lives. I'm going to say he lives. The big blue elephant with the keyboard. We'll see him again. Somehow survived 2 explosions on Tatooine. But this is kind of a big deal because it's like this is somewhat of as far as the first couple episodes of the season. This Madame Garza casino was like she would play a bigger part, but like she gone.
Yeah, no, there's nothing left there. That place that's smoke.
Yeah, so that was kind of, unsettling, and it really kind of raises the stakes. Like, okay, the Pikes mean business, and I can't wait to see how this wraps up here next episode, or if it does at all. Might not.
What if they're stringing this along? What if they already have it 2 set up and they're not going to tie this up in a pretty little bow in episode 7?
I'd actually be okay with that. They've diverted us here with the Mandalorian stuff and Luke stuff, and given us like juicy red meat when it comes to Star Wars content, right? That if they don't finish this Pike storyline this season, I'm actually not going to mind that whatsoever. Like we'll continue that thread some other point.
Yeah. Now this could have easily been episode like the past 2 episodes, episode 6 and 5 and 6 now.
Yeah.
Could have easily been episodes 2 and 3.
Oh yeah.
And they could have and should have condensed his backstory. His getting out of the Sarlacc, him with the Tusken Raiders. They could have condensed that into an hour-long episode.
Yeah.
And started with that. And then given us these 2 episodes, because if we would have had episode 3 and Madame Garza's cantina or what I can't think of them blew up, can you imagine what episode 4 would be? And knowing in 5 and 6 and then there, into 7, it would have given us a huge buildup to that point.
Yeah.
Knowing that just happened now, are we going to have a time lapse? Is there going to be a period of time that happens like in between where we're not going to actually see, and then there's going to be this, this confrontation.
Alaro asks, will there be 7 or 8 episodes? It's just slated for 7, so we only got one more to wrap things up, at least for this season, which is crazy.
But yeah, I mean, there we go. It's him there. He was the one that was like, you know what? I think they're saving all the production and the money for the last couple, few episodes of the season. Yeah. I think he nailed it. I really do.
Hopefully they didn't already spend it all, and we're going to be back to looking very cheap for the finale. Hopefully they don't do that to us. But they've made some questionable decisions in the production of this show so far.
Well, this one here was also, so we had Bryce Dallas Howard last episode.
Yeah.
We had Filoni himself.
Which I thought he directed very well. Like, to be fair, he was giving us like geek stuff and I was just eating it up. But I thought the direction was good.
Yeah, there was a story to be told.
Yeah.
And there was a direction the story was going. It wasn't floundering around, or there was we knew what was happening.
Right. But that's it from Adam Garza. We only get one more scene this episode to wrap up. We go back to the unnamed planet where Luke is with Grogu. And he offers Grogu a choice. This is how we end the episode here. He's like, hey, I've got this Mandalorian mithril, this chainmail that Mando made for you. I've got my old master Yoda's lightsaber, which is a whole other thing.
Toothpick? I mean, that's I called it Yoda's toothpick. It was tiny.
Yeah.
Luke's hand was actually kind of humorous.
Yeah, it was like, yeah, well, I got a lightsaber. But he very tactile. You've got choice A, choice B. We've got, this item, this path, this path. What are you going to do? And we leave on Grogu's face, like, what is he going to do? And that's how we go to credits at that point. What do you think about that? Do you think it's fair for Luke to kind of force that choice on him?
I think that's another situation when Luke being so young in his mastering of the Force, or I don't know. I don't know if I'd even call him master yet. I'd call him Jedi Knight, because you become a master over a long period of time. Which,
yeah,
I mean, I know we're just semantics now, but
Yoda kind of bestowed him that he just became a Jedi by facing his father for that final time, according to Yoda. But that's just him becoming a Jedi, like not a Jedi master. He's only like Jedi master by default because he's the only one around.
Yeah.
I at first the forcing the choice kind of like hit me the wrong way, because I'm like, in my heart, in my head, I know that Grogu can be both. He can be the new, Mandalorian Jedi, both of equal parts, and continue that adventure. Maybe take up the Darksaber at some point. I don't know. Maybe it's probably a little too big for him, but you know what I mean. I don't think it's an exclusive choice where you could have to be one or the other.
But that was the old Jedi way, though, and that's really what really led to the downfall. It was like, okay, you have to do this. You got to be taken from your family, because if essentially, Mando is kind of like Luke's surrogate father. Not Luke, Grogu's surrogate father.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's how he looks at him. He's the one that is taking him, where he's going, and protecting him and everything, and essentially saved him from the factions of the Empire. Boy, I'm all over the place.
I have a theory as far as I don't know. I'm curious, either we're not going to revisit this at all, either we're not going to get Grogu's answer until Mandalorian season 3, which is most likely what's going to happen.
That's probably, yeah.
Or Grogu says like he's actually going to talk. Maybe he'll actually talk. Yeah, we could actually use him to talk more. Honestly, he's been kind of quiet, the kid. Maybe it's all that trauma from Order 66. But what if he chooses to go back with Mandalorian? Because Luke says specifically, hey, you choose this, I will take you back to Mandalorian, and like, no hard feelings, I'll take you back to him, and
but if you don't, you won't see him. You may not ever see him again. Right.
Yeah. And he mentions like his species lifespan. They live a long time. So I don't know if Grogu makes the choice to be a Mandalorian, we may see Luke arrive in his X-Wing, like bringing Grogu back to Mando on Tatooine, and just like be in the midst of this pike battle thing. Unbeknownst, like maybe he's like only just trying to bring Grogu back, and he's like, oh, what's going on? Some sort of skirmish. Maybe we actually see Luke on Tatooine with Boba Fett, or maybe Han brings him back in the Falcon or something. I don't know. Harrison Ford was rumored to be back, but
Yeah, we did hear that a few times.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna have any resolution to this till season 3 of The Mandalorian. I think that's
yeah,
pretty much where they're gonna leave that. I think
right,
just dropping Luke in the middle of a gangster war is
yeah.
I don't think it'll sit well with
That's a
everybody.
big ask,
Yeah,
probably. Yeah,
that's a very big ask. There's no way they're gonna finish that off well.
no,
Uh, yeah, I mean, I'm a mixed bag on it because I want him back with Mando.
right.
But how cool would it be to actually see Grogu trained as a Jedi?
That's what I fear, is that if he chooses to be with the Mandalorian like exclusively, then that kind of cuts Luke from being in the Mandalorian anymore. Like, why? We've already seen him, and they don't have anything to do with each other anymore. He's not training him, so like, why revisit Luke? And I love seeing young Luke. Like, now that I've seen, especially in this episode, it was cool
Yeah.
enough with at the end, the season finale of Mando. But now what I've seen them do to actually watch Luke Skywalker train a young Jedi Padawan and give him lessons of the Force, it just blew my mind. And of course, I want more of that. So I don't know. We'll see how this shakes out. It's been pretty stellar so far.
Yeah, I think there's no way we're not going to get Grogu in Mandalorian season 3. It's a given.
You're right.
So, I mean, that by itself would tell us that he's going to choose Mando over Luke, which, I mean, any child would. You just met this dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yet he's teaching you, what Mando wanted you to learn. So,
I think
kind of
we're
like
in for a
boarding
stellar.
school.
Yeah. I think we're in for a stellar season 3, honestly, because we've got so many big things to follow up on, whether it be Grogu's teaching with Yoda, the darksaber, like you mentioned, Din Djarin learning about the darksaber and learning to possibly from Luke, and going back to Mandalore, like Mandalore, and like
Mhm.
that whole thing of because technically he's the leader of the Mandalore right now.
Hear me out on this here.
Okay.
Now, we have heard her say she's not going to train him. She
Yeah.
will not train him. It's not
Who,
something she's
Ahsoka?
going to do. Ahsoka, yes.
Yeah.
But we know Ahsoka's connection to Din Djarin. What if Grogu decides to take go with Din, go back with the Mandalorian. And Ahsoka pops in periodically to teach him small lessons.
I
So
like
he
that.
still gains some of that knowledge that Luke would have given him. Not to the extent he would if he was completely secluded with him,
Yeah.
but he's learning. And then he's learning how to control things, the force healing that he does, the lifting of things he does, the stopping of the mudhorn. How
Right.
he learns how to control.
Yeah.
So he doesn't become a Jedi, let's say, but he becomes more of a that's it. Okay, let's just use the word gray. Or gray
Right.
Jedi. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He works within the Force, but he's not connected to either side.
That almost makes more sense to me, because it would make sense as to why Grogu isn't with, or probably isn't with, Luke when the temple gets taken over by Kylo, right? Kind of explains that.
He escapes 2 massacres.
Right. Yeah, he does. Yeah, which would be kind of neat. And that would make more sense to me as far as like Ahsoka and her history. If he chooses to still be a Mandalorian and with Mando, she, because Luke is so tied to the doctrine, it would make more sense that Ahsoka would be the one to be like, okay, like you can be a Mandalorian and still know the Force,
Yeah.
So, and it would be cheaper on the budget because you don't have to do all that deep fake stuff with Rosario Dawson.
And it would still give us an option or the ability to see Luke periodically.
Right.
Like, what if she drops? Like, what if she comes across something she doesn't know what she's doing, and or it intimidates her? She's like, this felt weird. Something. There is a feeling that's coming in from someone that I don't know, and I don't know how to handle. And she drops off at Luke, and she say, "Okay, this is what's going on." You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Like, she uses him as a mentor.
I just love that there's such big storytelling between this 30-year gap between the movies. I never expected that the Mandalorian show would spawn these huge continuing adventures with like power players. Like Luke is kind of a main character now. Like we're following like Luke. We spent so much time with Luke in this episode that he's almost kind of like a main character. Like it would kind of feel weird if we didn't see him again, kind of
Yeah.
regularly, because he was such a big part of this episode. And we're dealing with Thrawn, Ahsoka, all the continuation of the animated stuff. It's almost as like a brand new trilogy in between the trilogies. Like it's big things happening in the galaxy, and we're watching big stuff on Disney Plus. And I'm just curious how the book of Boba Fett wraps up next
Yeah,
week.
no, I'm nervous about that, honestly, because
Yeah,
I don't think if this is going to be a limited series and it's only going to hit this one season, there's
right.
no way there can be a satisfying ending. There really isn't. The only way there can be a satisfying ending is if they branch it. Like, okay,
Yeah.
we're going to find out more about what happened here through the Mandalorian or through Ahsoka or through whatever avenue they want to do it.
Yeah. And they have such interesting things to lead up into, right? Because like who knows what kind of like, post credit scenes we may see, because they did that with Boba Fett. At the end of the Mandalorian, we saw Boba Fett, walk into Jabba's palace. Like
Yeah,
we've got the Obi-Wan show coming up, which may be coming up very soon in
yeah.
May, by the way. And we've got Mandalorian season 3. We've got like big things on the horizon here as far as Star Wars goes. So who
Here's
knows
the
what we're
crazy
gonna
thing. I don't
see.
even know if they started filming it or not, but what if they gave us a clip just of, Ahsoka and the back of Sabine walking away?
Yeah.
Just
Something with that. Just a
something
tease.
that, like, it doesn't have to be like an actual anything from it. It just shows those two together and
Right.
they're walking away. They're getting on the ship, leaving where Luke was. Like Sabine was with her the whole time because that was a stop on their way of finding Ezra and Thrawn.
Or it's speculated, and we're probably going to be on planet on Mandalorian in Mandalorian season 3. Who's to say that Sabine won't be a part of that storyline?
Yeah.
She's got some leftover, plot threads for being involved with that during Rebels, her and Bo-Katan, and she's a part of that too. So like, maybe we might get a continuation there where Sabine is involved with Mando season 3. I don't know.
There's so many things out there now that they've opened the door for
Yeah,
us to go ahead and be able to theorize about, which is where I think most of Star Wars fun is.
right.
But let me see. Larry here said he got here a little late. Said let me see. He looks older because he's 100 years old and Race only lives to be about 60. Okay, I mean that's
Oh, as
that's
far
what
as Bane's design, yeah, we
yeah,
talked a
and that's
little
what
bit about
we were
that.
talking about a little bit. Yeah, he's just older, and when you get older, you get a little ashy and
We thought
cracked,
he
and
looked
it
we
just
thought he
looks
looked
bad.
incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
some dry
mean,
skin it there out in the desert.
yeah, right. It needs a little bit of lotion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about the color of his skin didn't bother me so much. Yeah, he was a lot darker in Clone Wars, but yeah, like you pointed out, he's a lot younger in Clone Wars.
Yeah.
So we all get a little saggy looking in our old age.
Bane is basically an old Clint Eastwood, yeah, and he's still got the quick draw even though he's old.
Yeah, the reflexes are still there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was we addressed a bunch, dude. I gushed on
That was a whole
on
section of this hour-long plus episode.
on Bane. But yeah, that was something. Yeah, go ahead and rewatch that if you want to get my full reaction on that. That's we
Yeah.
don't have time to rehash that.
You and I, honestly, we're such big Star Wars nerds that you and I could talk about this episode more. We could go probably into the 2-hour mark here, but I think that's as far as we're gonna go here with this episode.
Should we
Um,
address the elephant in the room though? On
I
how
don't know
much
what the
better
elephant is. Max Rebo?
I was gonna say how much better the 2 episodes of the Book of Boba Fett have been without
Oh.
Boba Fett really in them.
Because they've been so good, I honestly don't care anymore. That was a concern I had at the end of the last episode. But after this episode, where it was even better than the last episode, and we got to see the things that we actually got to see, I don't care what they call this show. Whatever. Call it whatever you want.
The conflict on Tatooine.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I have no issue with it anymore. I can care less. I was never a Boba Fett guy to start with, so the fact that they cut Boba Fett out and they put Black Chrysanthemum in and Cad Bane in, I mean,
Yeah,
that
you must
one
be
ups it
super
for me.
pleased. Yeah. It's the Boba Fett show without Boba Fett.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll end it there. I mean, who are we? What do we do?
We're Dad and Rock. We're here each and every Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We talk about all kinds of after show. We've been talking about the Book of Boba Fett here. Next week is going to be our last opportunity to talk that because it's going to be the season finale of the Book of Boba Fett. And we'll continue on after that. We will probably announce what we'll be doing after that But we do that. We discussed maybe covering doing a rewind of the Wheel of Time coming up here soon. I don't know if that's a series that you guys have heard of. It's on Amazon Prime. It's got a big book reader following.
Yeah.
It's a big fantasy show that Chris and I actually enjoyed quite a bit. We were looking forward to do a rewatch of it. But yeah, all these Star Wars shows, we're going to cover Obi-Wan.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to be covering Ahsoka show. We're going to be covering any Star Wars
There's
content. We're gonna be there.
Andor. There's Acolyte. I mean, there's quite a few that are coming to
Mando season 3, of course. So
Mando season. Yeah, there's going to be.
we're going to
You
be here
enjoy
for all
Star
of that.
Wars? Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe button, because we'll continue to give our reactions, even if they're completely out of left field.
Yeah, find us on YouTube. So just search DADNAROK, Dad and Rock on YouTube. Be sure to like our page, leave comments, subscribe, and every time that you guys interact, you leave comments, hit the like button. It actually helps our channel out tremendously. The YouTube algorithm, they see that stuff, they see the interaction, and that's when they spread the videos out to people's news feeds. And if you guys don't do that, then we may never hit the news feed. So be sure to. It really helps us out if you could do that.
Okay, guys. Well, I think that is a good spot to go ahead and say, keep it cheesy.
See ya.